Hi, I'm Dave Gardy for Cybersecurity TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C. for this special presentation, another Cybersecurity TV SharkFest. Joining me here in the studio is Barbara Bridges. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to this session.
So what we're going to do is just give a quick rundown of how we do this. There are three companies presenting today, three excellent companies. Each will have a chance to speak for 5 minutes with 1 or 2 PowerPoint slides, or maybe no PowerPoint slides. And then after that, the judges will come back and do 5 minutes of questions. And then we'll move from company to company until the end when we deliberate, and we'll have another winner for this next Cybersecurity SharkFest. Before we begin, we want to thank our sponsors, IOE Corporation, which stands for Internet of Everything, and CYBRScore Solutions. Barbara, who do we have today as far as judges are concerned?
So we have 2 excellent judges. They've participated before. I'll introduce them now. The first is Glenn Hernandez, and Glenn is the CISO for OpEdge Solutions, which is an LLC. Now, I knew Glenn from a previous life. Glenn, he is very passionate about creating strategic partnerships to revolutionize organizational transformation with resilient technology and meet mission objectives. He's a senior consultant with OpEdge Solutions, and I knew him when he was the CISO of the Coast Guard. He spent a number of years in the Coast Guard, I think more than 26, retired in July of 2017. And from 2013 to 2017, he was the CISO for Coast Guard. He's co-authored the Coast Guard's cyber strategy, and he led the Coast Guard's first cyber crisis response based on the National Incident Management System framework. So Glenn, thanks again for joining us today.
Absolutely, happy to be here.
The second judge that we have today is also joining us again, and that is Brian Ward. Brian is the Chief Enterprise Architect for SAIC. Brian is a technology leader with over 40 years experience, which I still find that hard to believe, in technology innovation, thought leadership, enterprise and mission solutions, as well as business development. He uses vision, passion, and practical experience to forge the strategies and solutions that help accelerate growth and improve profits. He has an extensive digital transformation background and specializes in service-based enterprise transformation, secure hybrid multi-cloud solutions, enterprise infrastructure automation, and development of mission-critical systems and applications. So Brian, thanks again, and we look forward to you participating.
Okay, let's get started. Our first company, Barbara, is a company called SaferNet with Brad Hawkins. Tell us a little bit about them.
So Brad Hawkins, he has an entrepreneurial spirit. He's been instrumental in the development and growth of several companies with his roles of owning, leading, operating, and advising, such as an investment management company for 20 years, a financial life training and coaching company, an international LED light manufacturing and distribution company based in Hong Kong, an oxygen delivery company, software development company, and a software-based network security company. He's authored 5 books, has 10 online financial courses, has sat on the board of several companies as well as nonprofit organizations. So Brad, we'd love to hear a little bit about your solution today.
All right, Brad, wait 1 second as I get my stopwatch started here. And we're ready. Go ahead.
Well, first off, I just want to thank you so much for being able to do this with you. I think what you're doing here is just amazing, bringing out all kinds of new technologies, and just thank you for the privilege of being able to do this. But SaferNet is providing a very easy to use 3-in-1 cyber safety solution designed for homes or small businesses or even some medium-sized businesses. We believe cyber safety should be for everyone, which means that it needs to be simple so that everyone can be able to manage it and handle it. We are a cyber safety company designed to protect all devices connected with an app to our dashboard. And what we do is we run that app through any device up to our dashboard through a 256-bit encrypted VPN, a 24/7 always-on VPN, which eliminates a lot of those typical people that forget to fire up their VPN when it's so important to be able to do that. But as it reaches the dashboard, in that dashboard, we've got 200 internet controls, which includes 84 filters, white and black listing of apps and websites, scheduling, GPS tracking, visualizing block and allowed sites, so an administrator is able to monitor all the traffic and be able to understand and possibly even block or allow specific. But one of the things that I just love is a thing we call Entourage, and it's all those things that reach into your device and snag your information without you knowing it. We're blocking that, which obviously increases the speed of your traffic, but we also show all that Entourage so that you can do something about it if you needed to. The third piece of our first 3, but the third piece is virus protection. And so what we do is we protect all of those devices that are running through that VPN. We're checking for viruses and eliminating the viruses before they actually get to the device, number 1. But number 2, as we know, there's multiple ways to end up getting a virus. And so possibly somebody's going to open a bad email that we're not able to stop. But if they open a bad email, we're going to keep them within our closed network, and that virus will not be able to communicate outside to their host within that closed network. So we can basically stop ransomware communication until that ransomware is eliminated off that device. We're able to connect with Androids, iOS, Windows, Mac, Fire, whatever device is out there that is needed. We can connect with cellular or Wi-Fi and switch in between the two. And we're connecting worldwide, so it doesn't matter where someone is. But I'll tell you, I am very excited about a new addition to our product line that we're adding this fall, and that's what we're calling SaferNet Gate. And what it is it's a small little computer that we've put together that connects to any network or any router that's able to take that internet and encrypt that signal, send it out to all specifically IoT devices, and be able to connect to those IoT devices with an encrypted signal. That IoT communication runs through the system, checking for viruses, obviously, through both directions. But it also gets to our dashboard, and those IoT devices are able to be monitored and managed based on all other typical communication that the network needs. Now, that IoT device, or that SaferNet gate, is also able to send out a signal to any non-mobile device that's behind the firewall that is able to connect, that we don't want to put an app on. We can just send it out as a protected device within the network and still keep it within that VPN connection and run it through those connections. So basically, SaferNet is able to connect all endpoint devices to our dashboard
30 seconds.
to use 200 internet controls within that process and keep them protected as they use the web. So that is what SaferNet is able to do.
Okay, well, you finished early. About 15 seconds, which will get loaded to the balance of the time for the questions part. And now we're going to turn it over to the judges. Go ahead and get started, gentlemen.
Brian, go ahead.
Brian, you're muted.
Yes, now you guys can hear me. So Brad, I just want to check with something. So the way you're architected, all the devices that you're talking to, your phone, whatever, instead of going directly the internet, they would come into the AWS environment that you've set up. They have no direct internet connection. They go through your service out, and you provide the access out to the internet. Is that correct?
That's correct. Everything stays within that closed network, pushes through their dashboard, and then their dashboard has full control over all those devices.
Okay. And what kind of latency does that add to the performance of people in their home environment?
I'm glad you asked. We had an interesting experience. I was on the radio talking about this, and the radio host felt like it was going to be an interesting study, as if he did a live test on air to test his latency. So we had an expert in there, and it actually sped up the connection. And I know that's kind of hard to believe, because practically speaking, it should not. But because we're going through the process of blocking all that external traffic that is trying to reach in and slow down your network anyway, it actually speeds up the net result of the experience. Now, realistically, we are slowing it down a little bit, but it's negligible. You can't even tell, because we're stopping so much at the outside.
So the net latency is negative because you're actually blocking traffic, as opposed, you're slowing down everything a little bit, but you're cutting out so much that the net effect is a performance improvement.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was a little nervous about an on-air test, but it worked out well in our favor.
Thank you. Glenn, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Brad, for the presentation. I appreciate the information that you passed on in a very short time. I had a question about a term that you use, endpoint devices. So I'm just curious, when you think about operational technologies, given colonial and water treatment plant compromises, does your platform, does it have the ability to accommodate operational technologies that use different protocols, such as Modbus or BACnet? Over.
Anything that accepts an internet connection, we can connect to. So all we have to do is if we have the ability to be able to access the login. So if they're logging into an internet connection now with whatever it is that they're using, we provide them an encrypted connection point, as opposed to what it is that they're using now. So all they have to do is change their login to the new encrypted location, and yes.
Okay. And my second question is in regards to standards and guidance. Does your company, have you seen the NIST 877 and 113 regarding VPNs? Does that resonate at all with you, and how the federal government sees guidance on VPNs?
So My tech people know all that detail behind the scenes and operate that. But I'm told through other relationships that we have that we meet the qualifications that they're required to operate through, which is, and if I had my CTO here, he'd be able to talk a lot more your language. And I apologize that I'm not there, but the answer that I've been told is yes, but I'd rather have my CTO directly communicate those.
And real quick, FedRAMP, yes, no?
Again, I would refer that
Okay.
directly to.
All right. I think, Brian, we have more time, Dave?
Yeah, you still have time. You got about
Okay.
a minute.
Go ahead, Dave.
Do we have another minute or?
You have a full minute.
Okay. So the question I have is devices like Alexa, Nest, all the other home devices, the home is becoming more and more connected. I mean, toasters, refrigerators, everything. They won't necessarily like I can't control them like I can control my iOS device.
30 seconds.
Can I have those devices use this service as well? If so, how do I modify them in order to use it?
Absolutely, and really it's all at the connecting point. So you can connect any IoT device to this, just like you'd be connecting it to the internet. And the control center is on the dashboard, so you're controlling it all from the control center. A TV, for example, I can set a time limit on my TV for an hour, and it stays on for an hour and it turns off within an hour, all controlled from my computer. It has nothing to do with the TV. Same thing with Alexa, same thing with my Nest, whatever it is that is using the internet, I have full control over it, just like any other device that is connected through the dashboard. I can set time limits, I can turn on and off, I can filter specific areas, but I've got full control over that from my dashboard, as long as it connects through the VPN.
And that's time. Thank you. Excellent presentation from SaferNet. Our next company, Chris Bijou, is coming to us from Utah. Tell us about Chris Bijou and the Internet of Everything Corporation, or IOE.
Okay, so he is the CEO and co-founder of Internet of Everything and the new global IOE Web. He was recently honored as one of the 10 most successful CEOs in 2021 by Industry Era. As an American entrepreneur, rocket engineer, inventor, and technology sales and marketing expert, he has been the founder and CEO of multiple technology startups, as well as running divisions at the multi-billion enterprises of Siebel Systems and Oracle. So, Chris, we're looking forward to hearing more about your product.
And we're ready to go.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So thanks so much, everybody. What we're going to show is, we've only pulled off kind of the ultimate upgrade of a generation, and it's pretty amazing what we've been able to do. And it's mainly this amazing science team and these developers and these designers that have been around for 30 years and have made all these amazing core products that 5 billion people on the earth use, but people don't know who they are hardly, because they're doing it in the background. But we've developed the Internet of Everything web. And if you think about it, everything upgrades over a period of time. Like there's a certain point where everything needs to upgrade. And the World Wide Web is about 20 years overdue for that upgrade. So like imagine where we're at today and then imagine 10 years from now. Okay, and we're coming into this new everything, Internet of Everything connected era. And interestingly enough, this era that we're going into is the next mega market that is trillions of dollars, right? So think of all the IoT devices, all the connections needed, all the infrastructure, all the services for IoT that will become the Internet of Everything, right? And it's projected out over the next 8 to 10 years to be about a $3.6 trillion market. So it's larger than our current markets that we're running on the internet today. But imagine 10 years from now, you're not going to use the World Wide Web, right? It was never designed for that. The World Wide Web was never designed for security. There's no security built on it. It was never designed for billions of connected IoT devices. It was never designed for having autonomous AI. There's no intelligence built into it. It's an app that was a beautiful app, right? And it sits on top of the internet. And 30 years ago, it was designed for marketing and putting videos and things like that through it, right? But it's not designed for the future of our world, right? Of where we're going. And you're seeing that every single day because of all the connections that you're seeing in all the cyber problems, right, that we're having. So it's created this environment, so we have to upgrade the way we think about the web. We have to think about this as not just a protocol anymore. We have to go past that if we're going to get into securing medical and architecture and logistics and utilities and all the things that you see every single day where everybody's going right through the VPNs, right through malware detectors, right? Because if you think of cyber's always fighting the past battle. They're not fighting the battle that's coming up next. So the only way to do that is at a certain point where you had to say, we have to create a completely new architecture, a complete upgrade. And to get to this next generation of this next mega market where we're going to get to, there's two things that have to happen. One of them is the IoT devices need to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more energy efficient, and that's all happening today, right? So there's new devices coming out by, some really good companies that have made those advancements, and now they're going into products that are now going to become mainstream over the next few years. And so that's when that whole thing takes off. The problem is how do you connect those devices and run those devices on a new web? And you can't think of it as one thing, right? You can't think of it as like just a new way to do an encryption, right? Amazingly enough, I don't know if you guys know this, but what a polymorphic encryption is, but we actually created the first polymorphic encryption that runs globally. We were talking with the Senate not too long ago, and they brought in a guy from one of the three-letter agencies, and an amazing, talented man who knew a lot about networks, and he did a whole bunch of research on us and looked at us and came to us and said, "How is it that you pulled this off? We thought this was still 10 years out," and we actually are running it, right now today. But you need to think of this as new service level operating systems. You need to have new internet protocols. You need to have decentralized and distributed infrastructure. You need to have quantum safety. All of these
30
networks
seconds.
today are really scary because the networks today are very vulnerable to quantum security. So it's not one thing. It's a full upgrade into how we're going to move forward as a society so we have continuity for government and society.
And 5 seconds to spare. Okay, we'll turn it over to the judges. Go.
Ryan, do you mind if I go first here?
Sure.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Chris. Very enlightening in terms of the vision, in terms of what you want to go. And I'm sort of curious, you said that the current protocols are inherently not secure. They didn't have those safety mechanisms that we need to protect the traffic that we have today that's leading to all the compromises. So in that vein, what are your thoughts, or maybe you can expound on what you think about zero trust architecture, and how does that apply, since it's going around now within the federal government and organizations as a strategy mindset to implement on current infrastructures? How does your company take zero trust architecture?
Yeah, we did. We actually had to do that, right? I mean, you have to, right? So ours is never a push system. Ours is always a pull, so it's always a zero trust. And you're actually doing zero trust not on the IoT device. You're actually doing it on the data itself. And so it's a very different level. We don't run on the hardware plane. We actually run at a higher level on the data plane. This whole thing that you're seeing here on the right-hand side is actually running. We've been running it for several years. And then just in 2020, we launched it live across the whole internet. So all these different pieces you're seeing are actually live right now. This isn't futuristic. And our team, this global team, they're from Sweden and Germany and Spain and the Canary Islands and over in Palo Alto and Salt Lake City, all over the world. This team has built this. They are the team that has built a lot of those protocols and a lot of the core parts of the internet that you're talking about. This is actually the team that's developed them over the last 30 years. So they said, you know what, if we don't upgrade this and we don't build a new one, it'll never happen, because who's going to do it, right? It's not a cyber problem. It's not a network problem. It's not an encryption problem. It's everything, right? So this all came together over the last, 6 years to build this new, and you can't think of it as a protocol. It's literally way beyond that, right? It's a whole new way of running all the different pieces that you need to run for the future of how we're going to run society. And it's live now.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic vision. Because I'm familiar with the inherent security issues with TCP/IP and how that has really led to some of the things you mentioned, right? Not having security, but not having that authentication and verification to the identity of the devices. And so are you saying that your company has developed a new protocol that will really push the boundaries of what you're trying to explore with your architecture?
Oh, yeah, it's done. Yeah, we're running a new protocol. We run on a different layer. We run in a different port. Okay. So anything that's connected to us doesn't run on the same port that's on the internet. It runs on a different port. So you're not even running on the web itself.
And is there an RFC for that?
There is, yep.
Okay.
So, and one thing too I wanted to mention, this is really important too, is you think about, like, we had to build an accelerated blockchain to be able to run with this, right? And I know that we're getting into way past where we'd have to get into the architecture piece of it, but a huge piece of this is the ability to be sustainable, right? Because the cloud, the multi, a hybrid cloud, when you're moving stuff around, and the energy it takes to move something, and the AI to analyze it, and all these different things, we had to figure out ways to make that so that it basically became incredibly low cost, but incredibly efficient. Because you have to be sustainable at this, or no one can afford it. The world can't even afford it, right? But it's also the people, cost-wise, can't afford it. So that's why you're not seeing any smart cities today. Where ours, we just are launching the first large smart city across the world right now that has all of this built in.
Thank you. Go ahead, Brian.
So, Chris, a couple of quick questions. First of all, what's the name of this new internet protocol? 2, is it compatible with other current worldwide protocols so that you can play
30 seconds
with the existing devices that are out there? And your AI smart routing, what type of performance improvement in routing have you been able to achieve through AI smart routing?
Yeah, I know we've only got like 10 seconds just to try to answer that. This works with any device. And it works in the protocol itself. We have to think of this, not just the protocol, that's 5% of it, right? 95% of it's all the services, all the structure that allows any device. So any company, any device can build on top of this, on the services of it.
And that's
but it works with any protocol.
And that's time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a game changer. Okay.
It is.
All right, so now we're going to go to our third company. Last but not least, Chris Will. He's in the last position because he's a veteran. He's been here before, but today he's bringing into us with CYBRScore a different technology solution. Barbara, tell us about Chris.
Chris is a cybersecurity education and publishing professional who has been delivering education and technology solutions for students of cybersecurity since 2010. He leads the cyber solutions team at Comtech Location Technologies, which is based in downtown Annapolis, Maryland.
And he's coming to us from Las Vegas. Chris, we're going to start you. On your marks, get set, go.
Here we go. Thanks, everybody. Let's address the biggest problem in cybersecurity right now, which is that we do not have enough qualified cybersecurity professionals. The schools can't produce enough. We have a huge gap. Per this ISACA study, we have 62% of respondents saying that their cybersecurity teams are understaffed. 57% have unfilled open cybersecurity positions, and 32% it takes more than 6 months to fill an open job requisition in this space. Add to that the consistent turnover and the fact that people are very highly sought after and paid in these positions, and it's really hard to even retain these people once you hire them. So we've addressed this problem, and we actually decided to implement our technologies to assess and reskill and upskill the existing workforce in order to solve this problem, because you're not going to do it by in any other way. You have to look at your own resources, your own people, figure out who's a great fit, figure out who's got the right attitude, the right aptitude, and then use automated evaluation tools, both for selection of people into a cohort, to retrain them as cybersecurity analysts, for example, and then leveraging our CYBRScore technology, putting them into environments where we can assess their skills over a period of time. So we have a CYBRScore assessment tool. It's a patented technology. Users are in a virtual lab environment. We have a selection of exercises that they work through, self-directed and with the supervision of an instructor. They complete these exercises. Those exercises are then scored according to different competencies. We provide an output report, and then we provide a recommended training path. The whole idea behind this is it measures abilities, not knowledge. We recommend training, and everything's aligned to the NICE National Cybersecurity Workforce Framework, or NIST SP 800-181. It's completely cloud-based. It's e-commerce enabled, fully automated, and it's designed to support multiple work roles. It's a tool that has produced some incredible results. We ran a cohort for the federal government, we had a 95% success rate in selecting people and training them, leveraging our automated tools, where 19 out of 20 people in this particular cohort, which were able to achieve competency level of apprenticeship or above after a 12-week intensive training program. So we've had a lot of success with this. We have the tools to deliver on this vision at scale. We're implementing this across the board, both in the federal government as well with our corporate clients, and leveraging all the performance metrics that we're able to provide in order to guide that process. And really, it's time on task. It's hands-on time in the lab environment. It's hands-on time doing the job that really is going to create the professionals of tomorrow who can protect their organizations moving forward. And that's our mission, basically, to make that happen. And that's all I've got. I know it's a little more pedestrian than what we've heard about, but that's what we're doing, solving a problem that's facing us, right now.
You got a full minute, so we'll tack that on to the questions period.
Sure.
Reserve the balance of your time. I don't know who's starting on the questions, but we're starting the clock as of now.
Brian, can I take a quick shot at this one?
Go for it.
I'm really passionate about this. So as the folks here on the show know, I work with FCA quite a bit, and I lead one of the subcommittees on cyber workforce. And I've been doing this for over 10 years as a volunteer. And so I work with NSA, DISA, NIST, CISA, and DOD in trying to get around the topic that you just brought up, right? The skills gap, the capacity of the nation to really deliver. And so I'm sort of curious, because I'm glad you mentioned the NICE framework, right? So that's great to hear that you're able to articulate your platform to that. Have you been able to get any metrics on how beneficial the results are of understanding the CYBRScore of these candidates in meeting the task and skills and abilities required for the positions they eventually went to? Have you been able to follow up with any organizations on how that has been able to benefit the organizations?
Yeah, so the cohort in particular that I'm referencing was part of a program we ran called the Federal Cybersecurity Reskilling Academy that we ran about 2 years ago. And we found that 19 of the 20 candidates, which, we actually identified very early on that one of the candidates was not qualified or was not going to be successful in the program. But of the 20 candidates that we had in that cohort, 19 of them basically showed very, incredible improvement from their baseline assessment, which we sort of implemented in the second week, and then the summative assessment that we implemented at in the final week of the program. And all of those individuals have moved into job roles related to cyber within their organizations, within the federal sector, and have been successful. So we probably need to do some follow up there and see where everybody is today. But our last report was very positive.
Thank you. I'm familiar with the other reskilling academies that DHS and OPM had initiated. So I'm sort of curious to hear what kind of results you came up with. But go ahead, Brian. I got another question after you.
Thank you, Glenn. So, Chris, I want to ask you a couple of questions about the logistics of all of this. Sure. So I take it your customers are primarily businesses looking to staff cybersecurity experts to provide to federal agencies, or federal agencies wanting to shore up and strengthen the skill sets of their in-house cybersecurity expertise.
Yes.
So in the flip side of that, you've got people that want to enter the program. These people are probably working a full-time job today. They need that in order to be able to pay the bills. So how much time does this take on the part of an individual that's looking to be a candidate in the program? And sure. How, are you identifying potential federal contractors to utilize your service in order to help you staff with qualified cyber experts?
Sure. So the program, the way we ran it under the FCRA was a 12-week program with people, we're looking at basically a 12-week boot camp style format where it's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, very hands-on intensive instruction delivered either with a virtual instructor or an instructor, in a classroom setting, but with a particular emphasis on the hands-on work and sort of being that guide on the side to help them, work through any issues they would have in performing the labs, and then using the automated assessment tools, of course, to measure their progress. This is a model that can be implemented in a multitude of ways. I'm looking at implementing it with a university to be named later, where they can stand up this program as a workforce development program, for example, for veterans who do have often full-time jobs or something else, obviously, that's keeping them busy right now. But, this is a program, because of the way it's designed, that can be run over 12 months. It can be run over 12 weeks. It's fairly modular, and we're able to deliver on it on a schedule that coordinates well with a person's personal work schedule.
Yeah, something else, Brian?
Yeah, one other quick question. The technology that you use to evaluate a person from an ability, not a skills perspective, is AI used in that? And if so, what AI technology are you engaging to do an ability assessment of an individual?
So basically, we're leveraging the scoring tool that we have, which is the CYBRScore, the performance score model, and we have not integrated the AI piece yet. That's a piece that I really do want to integrate into what we're doing moving forward. When you talk about the ability piece, I think you're making a distinction from just the skills development piece. But we do believe very strongly, when we
30 seconds.
When we produce a report, it is we've aligned all of the activities within the lab environment to a very specific set of knowledge, skills, and abilities. as defined by NICE. So, we do feel very strongly measuring both the skills and abilities of the individual.
So Chris, maybe you can answer this real quickly, but has your organization looked at trying to make this tool available to all organizations? From my perspective, it would be difficult to meet the capacity and demand of the country because we're not just going to be able to grow experts immediately. Is there a way for organizations to take this tool for free so they can assess whole organizations and find out who has the aptitude and attitude to possibly be a candidate for your program?
Yeah, I think it's very scalable. You're bringing up something very interesting that we've discussed internally. You and I should probably have a conversation offline.
10 seconds, that's time. There we go. All right, gentlemen, all three excellent presentations. Going to make it very difficult for the two judges we have today, Glenn and Brian. So without further ado, we're going to go have the judges go to the deliberation room, and we're going to hear an interview I did yesterday with Chris Bijou of Internet of Everything Corporation. Hi, I'm Dave Gardy for Cybersecurity TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C., as we prepare for the Shark Fest. And with us, joining us now is CEO of IOE Corporation, Mr. Chris Bijou. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about what IOE Corporation is all about.
The reality of what the world has turned into, especially over the last 10 years with IoT devices coming online, is it's gotten really complicated. I mean, if you think about the sophistication of the world where we're trying to censor up everything, right? It's not the same world we lived in where we were just going to websites and sending videos and, trying to market our companies. It's completely changing, especially over the last couple of years. And so what you're seeing is a whole new world of devices and a whole new way to attack people. And so the bad actors are winning, right? Because every time you attach a device to your network, it's easy to attack that network. So our team, over the last 30 years, has actually been instrumental in bringing forth some of the major technologies that 5 billion people use every single day, and including, changing how we use the internet and how we interface with the internet. Our team has been, instrumental in a lot of that development. So what a better team to develop the next generation of web that was developed just for this new world of IoT, right? So that's why it's the Internet of Everything. It's the IoE web, and that's what we've developed. Because the World Wide Web was never designed for what we're doing with it. And the types of architectures we have are so vulnerable today, you can never secure them. So we had to go to a completely different architecture.
Interesting. So what are some of the solutions you offer?
So the main thing is, it's not one thing, right? You can't think of this as, say, a blockchain or a quantum secure encryption or a polymorphic encryption or services. It's everything. Right, that was the elegant part of this that we had to design in. Was it was incredibly difficult to come up with an architecture that could be used across the internet that could be scaled as large as the internet. Right, that was incredibly difficult, and you can't view it as one entity. You can't say it's just a VPN or just a blockchain. It had to be built as all of those pieces, including an operating system, or you would never be able to protect it.
So what are some of the market applications you see for these solutions?
It's awesome because this becomes the core of everything, right? If you're going to have drones, if you're going to have, a digital twin, if you're going to have wearables or autonomous driving or research for medical, all of those things are interconnecting devices, interconnecting sensors, interconnecting with human to computer interaction, computer to computer interactions, all those, every single industry is changing right now. And so we need to upgrade, right? We need this upgrade to be able to go to a different architecture to handle that. So it's not a matter of what's the application. It's almost a matter of what isn't the application, right? Because we all want to interface more safely on the internet. And the internet is fine. It's that we need to have a new protocol. We need to have a new operating system. We need to have a new way to put all of these devices on where we can't attack them with a malware. You can't put a DDoS attack against them. You can't put a virus on them. It becomes physically impossible.
But what's the value proposition that distinguishes you from your competitors and their technologies?
So it's more, right now, there really isn't a direct competitor, but there are some people out there that are indirectly doing pieces of it. No one's put together anything this large ever. And so the advantages that we've got are that we have a full-blown system, right? Then we would become the de facto standard for moving forward for anybody who wants to be safe connecting to the internet, right? And anybody who wants to move past the problems we have with cyber, the problems that we have with data movement, the problems we have with actually getting data to information. So it really is a new way of thinking about what if the technology just worked and it wasn't vulnerable like we are today, and then you could just do stuff with it, versus right now you're saying, oh, it costs too much, I can't interconnect everything. Every time we connect a new device, we're going to be more vulnerable, so I can't do it. We've got to stop that thinking, but to do that, you can't keep on the same architectures we have today with the big cloud system. So it's a completely new way of thinking about moving forward as a society and as a sustainable society.
And so what future challenges do you foresee that in the market that you're preparing for now, so that when they come, that your clients will be having solutions that you can support?
So the IoT industry itself is still coming, right? And part of the reason it's not quite here yet, but it's getting really close, is the devices themselves are now just getting smaller and they're getting more energy efficient, right? But the other piece of it that's missing is our piece, right? Which is what is the operating system? What is the method for taking information from those devices and then putting them and helping them to work? So what you're going to see is over the next few years, you're suddenly going to see this massive increase of new technologies that will come online if they use our system, or they're going to be incredibly vulnerable, and you're going to see what's happening today. And so I think that the thing that we're challenged with right now is almost educating people to say, you've got to stop thinking about the old technologies and start thinking about a completely different architecture. I guess it comes back to the same thing as, you think about DOS, right? When Microsoft came out and when Apple came out, the vast majority of people didn't want to move to them. They were like, hey, why would we go to these, right? Only schools or only people that are playing around with graphics would ever use these. Real businesses would never use these. A few years later, who wanted to use DOS, right? It's the same thing. You got to stop and you got to think, everything upgrades at a certain point, and now's the time to, upgrade how we're utilizing the internet.
Interesting. Now, if people want to find out more about IOE Corporation, where should they go on the web?
So ioecorp.com, we'll have some links put up to it that can tell you more, and then there's a lot more that will be coming over the next few months. So there's a limited amount we're showing at the moment, but it's an amazing thing that we're doing. And so over the next few months, you're really going to see this explode. We've got people from cities all over the world right now that are doing stuff with us, to people in governments all over the world and in our own government at really high levels that are trying to show this off and trying to show how we can protect our country with this in ways that we can't do today. So all that will be coming out in the next few months, that you'll be able to see that more and more. But there is some connections we'll put up right now.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate the time you've taken. We've been speaking with Chris Bijou, who's CEO of IOE Corporation. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
I'm Dave Gardy in preparation for the Shark Fest of Cybersecurity TV. Thanks for watching. Okay, and welcome back to Cybersecurity TV's Shark Fest. And I believe our judges have been deliberating for the last 8 minutes plus. Judges are now back in our main room here. And gentlemen, did you come up with a decision?
Yes, we did, and it was a very difficult one, even just with Brian and myself. And so we have a variation on the past, and so we wanted to talk about the things that we liked, and then at the same time, Brian and I will announce the winner at the end, if that's okay. So from my perspective, thank you all for all the contestants to give your presentations today. We really appreciate the information, and we love the different takes. It was very difficult, like I said, for Brian and I to really figure out how to distinguish and find a winner today. But each one of them had attributes that definitely speak to a gap in the community that can solve a very difficult problem. So thank you very much for coming on the show today. I really liked the ideas about trying to provide secure environments for multi-connected devices and trying to understand how we could provide more security. And Brian, what other things did you pick up from these companies?
Well, I think the idea that you can connect everything at a home environment to through a filtering point is really sound, and I think the idea of whitelisting in order to be able to cut out porn sites and stuff like that, parents being able to clip that for their children, not to be able to visit those is going to be a good thing. And so I think the idea of taking a lot of different monetization technologies to the internet as a whole, I think it definitely needs that. But like most things, being able to connect that to the existing internet infrastructure, it's like trying to switch from Facebook to something else. People aren't doing it because they want to stay connected with everything that's going on Facebook, but yet there's other platforms that they could switch to. And that's, where, making that jump is kind of a leap of faith. You want to bring everybody that you talk to over at the same time. So I think that's, that's the other issue I see with that one.
And obviously, there's lots of issues in the community, especially trying to build out the capacity in organizations to get around all the vulnerabilities and security threats to organizations, not only technically, but also on the people side of it. So really appreciated having that information. But Brian and I took so long in the room because every company today really had some great ideas and great vision on how they can help the community and potential customers and organizations figure out solutions. But together, Brian and I came up with one company that I thought has a near-term potential, and we're going to say it at the same time. Ready?
CYBRScore.
That's what we have today.
Thank you, gentlemen. Congratulations, Chris. Second time's a charm, I guess. And any comments or thoughts?
Well, I'm humbled, honored, and excited. So thank you very much for the affirmation, and we look forward to going out and serving the community and putting the solution out there. Thank you.
And again, it was a tough decision. We want to thank Brad Hawkins from SaferNet and Chris Bijou from Internet of Everything Corporation. Gentlemen, really appreciate that. We also appreciate Internet of Everything's sponsorship along with SPIRES Corporation. Our next webcast for the Shark Fest is going to be August 27th. It's a Friday. It's not the weekend before Labor Day. It's the week before the weekend before Labor Day. So any final thoughts, Barbara?
I just wanted to congratulate everybody for your presentations. Very innovative solutions. I would have had a hard time picking a winner. I think you're all winners, so we really appreciate you participating.
Yes, and I think we were talking about this earlier, that you don't have to win to get some exposure, and there's a lot of companies over the last 5 or 6 years that have gone on to get investments, contracts, and weren't necessarily the winners of the Shark Fest. So all three companies, very tough decision, and congratulations to CYBRScore and Chris Will.
Yeah. Dave, I'll say at SAC, we're actually in pilot right now with one of the previous winners.
Okay, thank you. Good to know. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate the time you spent here for Cybersecurity TV from our studios near Washington, D.C. for this special Shark Fest. Next one, August 27th. Tune in again. And the archive for this one will be available within 24 to 48 hours. From our studios near Washington, D.C., thanks for joining us.